and if you could share some innovations that you've done at your end at home.
First of all, as an entrepreneur, what I would like to tell everyone is, as a established business, you should always be open to new ideas. So first, the acceptance of idea will come later on, but at least first we have to hear it out, right? So what we started with is, when I entered into business, we engaged with new vendors every day. So there are two examples I would like to say. Is one which we changed the way we used to transport our goods before, or reaching the last mile customer. We have adapted. We have partnered with a logistic partner who uses relay system of transport. So the delivery time of our goods has decreased. Apart from using FedEx and Gati and Safe Express, those are all traditional transporters. While this company uses on relay system, which is basically the truck goes directly from Ahmedabad to Delhi non-stop. Only the drivers are changed at every node. So your first thing is your material reaches on time because it goes non-stop, and second thing is your goods are not offloaded and unloaded at every node. So that gives the edge in terms of supplying a better customer experience to our end clients. And in this current world, when the clients are accepting the way Amazon and Flipkart are working, so they also have that expectation that every consumer company gives the same type of design experience to them, right? And another thing which I would say is the ERP startups, right? Zoho has come a long way right now, and we had adapted it before almost close to 4 years when they were in their initial days. What gave us the seamless data at any time of point? Of course, all businesses are working with data, but it is always scattered. You have it in Excel sheet or hard form, like in registers. It is all spread across. Once you have your data at your fingertips, it's gonna change the way your decision happens, right? For a business owner. While in terms of sales, what I would say how ERP and CRM has helped is, you have data in terms of even a salesperson who's just giving away quotations and not able to just close it in. So you can directly know what the output is, right? You don't need to go and check end of the day wo kahan ghum raha hai, kya kar raha hai. You don't need to come across all quotations by yourself. You can just give a approval online by your own self, while making good filters out of it कि इससे नीचे भाव में they can't sell it away, ये credit terms पे बेचना पड़ेगा. So there are lots of filters which they can manage and help us as an entrepreneur to make decisions at a macro level as well in that terms.
Understood. And any of the participants, if you have any questions, you can feel free to put it in chat and we'll take it up as well, that we can ask to Dhruvin. So meanwhile, Dhruvin, you spoke about the mindset. So MSMEs, the mindset of an MSME in context to age-old businesses that has been coming over for quite a different time. So it's a very different mindset. And when they encounter these startups which are totally opposite to them, or example, challenging their status quo, then things are it's a different aspect in terms of acceptance, in terms of so many other aspects. So what are the ways in which you opened up your mindset and started working with these startups that you spoke about? So if you could share maybe 3 things that MSMEs should change, or example, adapt, or keep the mindset as to work with the startups like the way you're working. So what would those 3 things be?
So first thing what I would I see is many a times when I establish business houses, they always think that they know everything, which is not possible, right? And always when a startup approaches, our mind should be open first of all. when they are doing sales to other clients, it means that someone is there in the market who's accepting their ideas, who's accepting their product. Of course, when it would be benefited, then only they will be successful. Right? So first thing comes with the acceptance, I would say. And second, I would say, whenever there's a disruption in the market, what an entrepreneur has to do is do not panic. At many instances, people have panicked a lot in terms of maybe a policy change would have come, maybe a black swan event, which like Corona, which had happened in past. So it had never happened in lifetime of anyone. But at that time, we need to stay put. And uh, the direction which at end of the day, what's going to happen with everyone's going to happen with you. No one's going to be exception, right? So in that time, when you more work on focused on your ideation and changing the way course of your business, that helps a lot. In terms of furniture industry, major furniture players deviated from their regular product line and started focusing on work from home furniture, if everyone remembers. Why? Because everyone was working from home. They were tired from using their regular dining chair. It was not ergonomically designed for long hour working as well. So in that time, for like almost 6 months, companies were almost focused on work from home furnitures only. And third thing I would say is the startup has see, we need to fuel the inspiration of youngsters of this country. First of all, I would say, and there's lots of ideation coming day by day in India. There are lots of businesses which are unorganized and getting organized. Recently, I came across a company called Samosa Party, who has make the samosa distribution system uh, organic and more uh, professionally managed, I would say. So lots of companies have been getting more, I would say, organized, which were very complex before. So there's always learning in terms of meeting these startups. And my personal experience is my every meeting with any new startup owner or an incubator is always new learning for me.
Interesting. Cool. I think you are already lot networked into and placed a lot in that aspects. Now I want to just maybe put a little bit of trick question out there, because that you spoke about, and you have a lot of mindset in terms of how an MSME should be. So if you were a startup, because the culture is different again, a startup and MSME versus a multinational or a billion-dollar company, the culture is very different. So if you're a startup founder, then how would you approach an MSME, an Indian MSME who is like Hoff? So what are the three things that you would take care, or in the aspect of, okay, when I approach them, I need to take care of these three things and approach an MSME to convert into a business, or the way I can help them?
First thing is, whenever we approach prospect clients, from my end, personal experience, what I would be pitching is just taking off their problems is. Don't ever just try to sell it on the first meeting, I would say. So, because see, everyone is not open to acceptance, first of all, it always starts from that. So first we need to ensure that you know what the client's requirement is, how the problem solving can be done by yourself, and what difference can you give them as than others. As a startup, what I have seen is startups are always um, the fastest problem solvers right now, as than a traditional MSME or the SME companies which are running currently, because they are always connected with the technologies what are available at their fingertips. So that is how they create a good combination of a product offering, and it can make a difference to them. Of course, as a buyer, you always have to see the pros and cons in giving your order to them.
Okay, so you spoke about not to start selling in the first meeting itself. So that could be an interesting takeaway. And so so Hoff has again moved from offline to online, and you're going global and opening other offices. And as you're scaling up your factory and all these aspects as well. And you have the mindset to also work with startups, and you have been working with some of them. Now, still as growth comes, there are a lot more challenges. So at Hoff, what would be the three things or three challenges that you have at Hoff that you feel that, okay, I have these three big problems or challenges, and I feel that maybe startups can solve these challenges that I have within my company. So what would those three challenges or things would be that startups can work on?
So, a company who's growing their distribution network, what will be the next thing on their mind is ensuring that their new product launch reaches in minimum time possible to their each and every counters, right? So that's how the sale will happen. So there, I haven't come across any startup who can help in that. But as a consumer company, every consumer company has this focus, reaching to the last mile in the minimum time requirement, because the companies always will be focusing on return on investment, because there will be a lot of investment gone behind developing a new product, whether it is a toothpaste or a brush or a furniture piece. There will be a time invested in it. There will be money invested in tools and raw materials to develop it, right? So first thing I would say is fastest to the stores. It is the same strategy what Zara does. There's a unique you know, proposition which Inditex, the parent company of Zara, has. They have in-house fashion show. Why? Because they literally develop their apparels over there. The model walks the ramp, and literally right away they select the product and take the decision whether it is going to go to the market or not. We use the same thought process, but not in terms of getting a fashion show in house. But we have got a 3D printer in our R&D center, where before like few years, it used to take like few months for us to develop just a small prototype. Right now, due to the availability of such technology, and that too at very cheap rates, right? So you can see इतने महीने का काम हमारा waste नहीं होता है. Immediately once a modeling happens and you get a hard model of it, you can really decide on that it can go to the market or not. So that time is decreased, and there are lots of vendors in terms of components these startups are making. It's not just they are always about consumer brands like cosmetics or eatables. There are few startups who are also working on technologically backed components like 3D printers, maybe I would say. Then there are drones which we are using. So of course, we as a company are not using drones for any of our operations right now. But recently we employed welding, which is done by robot technology. So we have got arms which do robot welding for us right now, and the precision has gone very high for us thereafter, because no men are operated, and there is no scope of even uh, negligence or any hazard to happen thereafter.
Interesting. So again, automating technological adoptions, and there are some aspects that you feel that are open areas and where a company that is scaling can help, and maybe you're still looking at startups which can help you in that aspect.
I would just like to add one. This is
Yeah.
my recent experience in last week. So we are doing a photo shoot for our new product launches recently, and there are a few startups right now who are giving amazing um, services in terms of they have editing services based on AI technology. Normally, what happens when you are shooting a product, there are like thousands of images on your hand. So you have to literally go personally at each image and check out which image will fit out to actually go into your last paper advertisement which you all see, or a magazine ad which you will see. And thereafter a editor sits and does the work, and it's like a laborer's job. So this company, at a very fraction cost, they edit all images at once. And thereafter, it's very easy for an end user like us to select the image from that and give it right away to the creative agency. So that changes a lot of the way creative agency or creatives work. So it's like literally within 10 days we can make our campaign live, which was which used to take like almost close to a month before.
So I think that's a very interesting example. Even I have never thought of that part in context to skimming away or shortening that period of time using AI. So that's a very interesting aspect. And we are actually doing our photo shoot right now. So I think it's a pretty,
It
I'm
will
going to
help.
explain later on. So one aspect also, because again you're into design, so you have a lot of you are a person who constantly interacts with incubators and examples, startup founders, and you're constantly working in different areas. So incubators, again, institutions like NID, MICA, they are again all design-led institutions. And now in certain institutions like IITs, even professors can have equity in startups. So there are some area specific design led where professors and startups are together trying to give a solution to the MSMEs. So have you interacted with these kind of incubators, or have you exchanged some thoughts, or what are your ideas around that? And maybe what do you feel could be value with the institutions also coming into the picture for MSMEs? So MSMEs, institutions, and again startups coming together and collaborating in that aspect.
I think in industry academia collaboration is topmost required to fuel the growth, of course, of India at this time. And I think it's doing its bit right now. First thing, their major IITs have their own incubators as well, and even IIM has their own incubator. So, being such a pool of alumni, once the student has that ideation, the incubator is taking it to the next level. The alumni will step in and accelerate their growth. And there are lots of success stories as well from that. Company everyone has heard of is Razorpay, right? So Razorpay is from the incubator CIIEO, that is incubator run by IIM Center of. It's based in Ahmedabad, and they have multiple centers across India. So lots of collaboration needs to be done, and we are also collaborating with design institutes to hire the young generation, because first they know the design trends very well, as they are very well connected with social media, against the designers who have been, I think, in the field for like 4 decades. Of course, because they are not that adaptive to the social media, and these people, just after getting out of the college, they will be halfway through seeing what design is trending in Sweden and what is trending in Italy. So thereafter, they can cater it very easily over here.
Makes a lot of sense. And again, I think so. You not only work with startups, or you not only engage with them for as taking their services, but also in context of investing in them. So for MSMEs, that's again a space that's wide open out there where they could invest in startups, which it could be a different level of it. It could be from their segment, or it could be with whom they're working, or co-creating a product and investing in it, or just investing from a financial asset kind of a mindset. So what has your journey been in context of investing in these startups, and what have been the learnings from there?
Uh, the e-commerce giants, that is Flipkart or Amazon, they have been investing in companies which are technologically backed logistic companies, even after they having their own chain. Just imagine why. Because they want to adapt the new technologies which they haven't been capable to develop it on their own, right? So of course there will be something better why they are seeing more future in it. So lots of companies, I think they should do that. It's a two-way thing, right? You being an investor in a company which has your own interest. Like for example, if we are into furniture, so if a startup comes to me with a new technology of foam which they have developed, I should be eagerly be invested in that, even a small fraction of amount, whatever comfortable. Why? I will get an edge of what they are thinking, and it can be a two-way. We can be a buyer from them, and they can be a seller as well, right? So there are lots of synergies which can be worked out, and it can do wonders for them, both the ways. Many a times, what happens, we as a company, we think the startups or the other company as a competitor, but it has to be always collaboration, I think so, and that's how it can take long way ahead. And India, we have lots of examples like Maruti Suzuki. Suzuki has done wonder after they collaborated with Maruti in India, and how they are doing right now. So everyone can see the way. Same with Hero Honda as well.
Great. And have you invested in any startups or like through incubators or as a family fund or with VCs?
Yes, we do largely invest through VC funds and direct deals as well. We have done, but nothing from furniture industry. To be frank, it's majorly in deep tech and fintech. There are consumer tech as well there, and there are a few unique companies who work more on sustainability and wiping out the trash from the road. There are lots of interesting companies. There's this one company which bridges, connects the tier 2 and tier 3 cities internally. Like they connect the shopkeepers so they can internally sell their products, whichever is not available on their hand. For example, in Ahmedabad, they can buy it internally from a company, from a shop from Gandhinagar, and they can sell it to me direct. So there are lots of such interesting startups which come up, and we even get lots of learning from them. It's gonna go way ahead. Just while investing, I would say everyone should take care. Is first thing is checking the owner's vision, the startup owner's vision. Thereafter, the cap table you should take care of is how you get to know is who all are current investors. So you need to know, you have an idea of pedigree of the investors around whom you are going in with. So I think this two, after this two, it's all on yourself to decide which interest feels interest you. And most interesting will be the companies which you are currently working in the field of, that is the same industry, because you have that in-depth knowledge. 8 hours, like your life, every day from morning to evening, you will be spending in your office or in your work field. So you would be having an edge over it, I think so.
So you're mostly invested in context of a financial asset, parte, like just having creating. So that's pretty nice. Now, one of the things that happens with when MSMEs collaborate with startups, or even before that collaboration happens, most of the innovation that happens is top down. Like a director, or example, a managing director, or a CEO, or a CTO happens to meet a startup founder, and then they interact, and then they get to know there's something like this, and then he tries to push that product or solution down from top down, and there might be very chances there for a bottom up approach, but again, these are innovative solutions. For some, the solution might not exist, or example, things won't be there. So what are the 3 tips from your end for startup founders on networking? Like how or where could they find these MSME decision makers across, or so that, because they're again busy, they're scaling up because they have their own battles to fight and everything. And as you said, the mindset, so most of the mindset maybe would be we are all done, we know everything, all that aspect. So where can these founders do networking, or where can they find the decision makers in day to day, or how they should look at it?
So first of all, I think you can't tell any successful entrepreneur that you are doing something wrong, right? Which he has been doing from long years and successful already in that field. So no one would accept. It's a basic human nature, right? So there has to be a basic uh, pitching ground where you need to create when you are meeting your potential prospect, I would say, where a two mindset can interact, a healthy interaction can happen. And thereafter, when you lend a hand on helping those uh, problems which they are facing subtly, I think there will be great outcomes. Whenever, even personally, when I am involved in a sale transaction, when I am meeting the client, first thing I say, because they would be expecting me coming there just to close the deal. So my words are always like that. I am just here to educate you. After that, it's your decision. You are the decision maker in this case. But I am just here for 5 minutes to brief you on what difference is in our product and in the market, and why you should buy our product, right? So how the opponent, the prospect, would feel comfortable? Yes, first of all, he is not here for business, and you are making a common pitching ground, because of course the buyer would be always in a intent to buy a good product. They are, no one operates to fail, right? We always aim to succeed in life, or succeed in any case or a project which we are working on. So I think that would, I would say, like, a common pitching ground you have to identify for yourself. And the approach for selling is, I would say, support them by figuring out how the problem can be eradicated. It can be technology, it can be components, it can be supply chain, it can be HR, lots of different things can be.
So I think educating the customers, and to and not looking at a sales, and then making them feel that you're just here to educate and not for a transaction part of it. Interesting. Now imagining, the sale has happened, the transaction has happened, the company has bought the product, and it's a new solution that's come in. And again, MSMEs are looking at, okay, let's just put into the system, same thing like how you got into Zoho, for example, the other solutions that you have deployed. So once this deployment happens, so multiple teams in an MSME is involved in context to making it successful. And MSME, the larger the organization, there are multiple silos. So there would be an IT team, there would be quality, production, and they have their own things going on, and they are growing and scaling. And on top of that, they are now being told, okay, you have to do it in a very different way, and there is going to be a startup who's going to do something like this. And when these kind of things happen, it's a transition, and there are challenges associated with it. So what would be your recommendations, or your experience when you deployed Zoho, and how team members were able to absorb it, or what are things that you did, or what the startups could do when they are working with an MSME to ensure the deployment is also much more smoother, or any tips that you have on that part?
So majorly what happens is, whenever a new system gets in place, a ERP or a different way of reporting, HOD wants to start or a owner wants to start, there's always going to be resistance. Why? It's just because you get used to what you have been doing from past few months or few years, right? It's even the road which you take from your home to office. If it changes for few days, anyone gets irritated, right? It's just a mindset, because you need to think again, because it's a new way, where to drive, where won't be traffic be there. So that's all, because you need to give extra thought. So first, the acceptance of change has to be there always, and resistance gonna happen. And while how it is managed swiftly to get it done and implemented in teams, is at that time first HOD has to be in your confidence. Major role plays by that, I think so, in my personal experience. And ensure the message is passed on to bottom of the pyramid, to all of the stakeholders or your team members who are involved in the transition. This is for betterment of you. It is not something which is uh, try to portray that it is not a load for you. I would say it will consume less time. For example, such gimmicks we need to do, and we need to ensure the transition is safe and swift. Safe in terms of, because in the transition lots of time there are losses of few team members as well, which I have seen in other companies and myself as well.
Okay, so you spoke about getting the head of the department or the HOD whom you are working with in confidence, and again ensuring that the load is reduced in context of the work or the things that they're doing, and eventually over a period of time it's going to make it easier for them to do it.
So
So
the
those.
environment has to be more positive when it is done.
Mhm. Perfect. And also in the aspects of sustainability coming into the picture, where Europe is doing lots of interesting things, wherein if you want to export to Europe and if you have sustainable practices, you get more credits to the one who is buying out there in the Europe, and they can benefit. So obviously they are choosing MSME vendors from India who are more sustainably focused, or they're using sustainable means of of moving things, or consuming in all the aspects of sustainability. And there are startups, and again, as you said about CIIE, they're also working on a lot in terms of sustainability startups. So do you have any examples wherein there are startups working on different building materials which are sustainable, or because that is one way as well, where new materials can also lead to more sustainable practices. And again, it's again a blend of the technology or the R&D coming from the institution or from the startups, and again the MSM is leveraging it and benefiting from it. So any sustainability related startups or any ideas or thoughts around you, and again, any opportunity for those people in HOF to collaborate for any sustainable startups?
So recently I had come across a startup who's working on recycling PET bottles, that is basically our water bottles which we drink around. So they have developed a system and process where they recycle it and make it as a paper clock. So it will take I think time for them to commercially produce it, but it's a stepping stone in that way. In terms of furniture, uh, we as a company we try to ensure with minimum wastages, and thereby whatever leftover we have, we give away as a CSR to our team members, like something like UFOM. There are lots of small pieces of UFOM which they create a mattress for themselves. It's easily pressed in, and they can make a mattress out of it. In terms of wooden pieces, it is used by the pottery makers. They used for burning, and it just give it away on free of cost, where they can do their livelihood. They don't have a mean like getting a gas pipeline and doing by cooking the pots, right? And there's one more company which is working on I think they are recycling garments. It's based in Sweden. So there are such startups which are working, but I think it will take a while for them to go more into commercial production, because that is when the wastage will come in control. And first thing is awareness. It's who like we who has to change and start from segregating the garbage at starting point, so it doesn't end up into landfills.
And so again, as you spoke about, like, in country's paper block, that's again a very interesting aspect how they're doing it. And again, in today's world, sustainability is again a very, very aspect of marketing or positioning yourself as a very sustainable company. And again, as you said, it starts with us in different areas. Now, do you have any examples of, like, competitors of which you have working with startups, for example, or large companies working with startups, and any use case examples that you see or you felt or it could have been interesting for you to throw around some light, that these things I find interesting in my competitors, so maybe I don't know, maybe it could make sense for me or something like that.
So competitors in terms of in furniture industry, I'm not aware who's working aggressively with any startup currently, but for sure I'm aware of Amazon working with a company who's based in AI technology with robotics, which can manage their warehouses. So the whole warehouse is just a space of like 5 lakh square feet, just managed by 10 people. Just imagine. Right now, they would be employing, I guess, close to 100, 200 people in a warehouse to just sort the materials. Whenever we place an order, the order uh, is fetched by the robot from the stack on a like north side corner at the top floor, and thereafter they do a printing, like the robot climbs and fetches the parcel, and thereafter the process starts, and long wait reaches you end of the day. So that is how I think they are pushing to get it a quick delivery service. So maybe in sooner future you'll get to hear more success stories in furniture industry as well, collaborating with startups.
Okay, so now a couple of last few questions, but one question I am very curious to know your thoughts is that, so even after having an open mindset, if an MSME is having an open mindset about a startup and the startup comes and pitches an idea, what should the pricing be? Because here you have a space wherein the startup has not proved themselves and the MSME does not trust the startup. The idea sounds okay, but the MSME doesn't know if the product is going to come out. The startup doesn't know what's going to be the cost. So these two guys, so what as an MSME, what would you anticipate, or what would you share the pricing model should be? Like, how should the startup price their solution, for the MSMEs to feel better or feel confident of the solution?
I think at start as a startup, the pricing we should keep is optimal, which is attractive to the buyer, I would say. Else, whenever a buyer sees unjustified price, of course, at the starting moment, at the first meeting itself, he would say no, right? For example, if you are offering something at a lakh, which he already knows that it's available in the market for 50,000 for him at any time, and he won't even entertain you, because why? He doesn't want to waste his time negotiating with you, right? Maybe he would ask for like 5% discount to the 50% guy and buy it from him rather. So I think price should be optimal, which is not, I would say, lucrative or like heavily discounted, but has to look justifiable. And thereafter, while you are offering your product, you can always differentiate with your competitors.
Oh, interesting. Because I was like interacting with one startup, so they were into again sustainability related products, and one of the models pricing that he had is, so they were again making paver blocks, kind of blocks, but again from waste. And the model that he had is, I'll fill your 1,000 square feet area, and these should be your metrics of satisfaction. It's free. So if you're satisfied, like typical Gujarati aspect, if you're satisfied and these are your satisfaction parameters, only then pay us the money. And then, so that was very interesting for me in case that
That
expectation.
can be also done. Right now, in terms of lots of CRMs, they always give a month free trial, right? So that is how you get to know how the outputs are. Of course, they won't be offering their full solution, but a tinge of their product offering, and which can make you to make the final decision over it. Of course, free sampling is a hit in the market in India at any time.
But then there has to be a threshold for the
Of course,
free,
of
or else that's where the startups lose out
Yes.
in MSMEs.
So you need to have a check on your balance sheet at all time, of course, as a owner.
And Dhruvi, coming to the last question or last part, especially in the audience who are interested in, example, the MSME furniture ecosystem, what are your key takeaways or thoughts or advice that they should do to engage in these furniture startup ecosystem, which is, there are segments, deep tech in all the segments, but there are segments like this segment does not exist in context of the MSME furniture segment. Maybe it could be smaller, maybe it could be different, but it's again a global part. So what are your thoughts or advice for them to engage or interact?
So furniture first of all, it's not classified as an industry technically, but furniture as a segment, I would say, is largely unorganized currently, and there is lots of scope to be worked on where it can get organized, and it will be of a great helpful to the consumer buyers in India thereafter. First thing is getting awareness to the clients, what they should buy, why they should buy. And there are good companies as well in terms of in the field. There are furniture startups, e-commerce players who are giving furnitures on rent. It's a great idea. Why? Because you don't need to buy it while you are traveling more often in like relocating yourself. So you won't need to buy a full-time furniture and pay for it, and thereafter hire a truck and then relocate. It's a great mess all around. So furniture industry segment has a lot of scope in terms of engaging for marketing, for sales, for distribution, product development, operations. There's lots of scope because it's all hardly 15 to 18% is organized as per last year's statistics. So there's lots of scope for the younger generation to engage and take their career forward.
Perfect. And just for the audience to know or share that we have something called CIA Alpha. So this icon is for all of you can register in this app. So it has all the activities that CIA does on national level, regional and state level in context to all the startup activities. So if you're a startup or if you're an MSME looking at trying to know what kind of engagement CI is doing with startups or leveraging startups for the MSMEs, CI Alpha app is the way to go. So just to summarize, Dhruvin, like what you spoke about, so it's been very interesting to hear from you on the different perspectives that you've been doing, and you're already working with a lot of startups and you're automating, you're growing in the aspects, and again investing. So what I learned from you is that MSMEs obviously can benefit one in terms of is learning from the startups in context of how they are working. So it can at least be, if not working together, not investing, then at least be learnings can come, crossover learnings can come. The second aspect is obviously cost savings. So there's a lot of cost savings that can be done with the right startup, with the right founder who has a clear vision. And again, for MSMEs, for benefiting from these aspects, they need to have the right mindset. And if you're not working with startups, obviously the last part is investing in startups, and and that is the way you can scale up or you can grow your money as well. So, but my favorite was the photo shoot editing AI thing that you spoke about. So it just gave me a lot of time saving aspect. It got to mind. But thank you for that insight as well. So it's been amazing to host you at the third fireside chat here at Dhruvin, and thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to meet you soon and connect as well.
Same here. Thank you so much.
And thanks, Payal, for arranging all this. And thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.